The rain fell softly that morning, as if the sky itself was unsure whether to mourn or to wait, and beneath the heavy gray clouds stood a crowd dressed in black, gathered at one of the most expensive private cemeteries in the city, a place reserved for power, wealth, and names that appeared on magazine covers. And today they had come to bury billionaire Victor Harland, a man the world knew as ruthless, brilliant and untouchable, a self-made titan whose empire controlled banks, hospitals, and entire neighborhoods, and yet for all his money, no one could escape death, or so everyone believed, because inside the polished, black casket lying beside the open grave was Victor's young wife. Elena Harland, declared dead just 48 hours earlier after collapsing suddenly in their mansion. Her death ruled a tragic complication from a rare heart condition. The doctors confident, the report signed, the family silent, and Victor himself gone only months before in a helicopter crash that left nothing but ashes and unanswered questions. And now the Harland legacy was being sealed forever, husband and wife buried within the same season, while lawyers, executives, and distant relatives whispered about stock transfers and inheritance, their eyes dry, their condolences practiced, when suddenly, from beyond the iron gates of the cemetery, a voice broke the fragile silence, rough, urgent, and completely out of place, shouting, "Stop! She's not dead!" And heads turned in irritation and disbelief as a garbage truck screeched to a halt near the entrance, its engine coughing, its paint chipped and rusted, and from it jumped a man in an orange uniform, soaked from the rain, his boots muddy, his face lined by years of quiet labor and nights spent unseen by people like these, and the guards moved immediately to intercept him, offended by the intrusion. But the man pushed forward, heart pounding, pointing with a trembling hand toward the casket, his voice cracking as he repeated, "I know what I'm saying, she's alive." Laughter rippled among the elites. Someone scoffed, another muttered about calling the police, and the funeral director stepped forward, offended and furious, demanding the man be removed. But the garbage collector, whose name no one cared to ask, fell to his knees in the wet grass, eyes burning with certainty, and said words that froze the air itself. "I heard her breathing." And that single sentence silenced the murmurs, because madness was one thing, but conviction like that was another. And before anyone could react, he told them how 2 nights earlier, while collecting waste near the Harlan estate, he'd been ordered to remove sealed medical trash from the private clinic wing of the mansion, a place rumored to exist but never confirmed. And while loading the bags, he heard a sound, soft, desperate, human, coming from inside a black transport container marked biohazard. And when he opened it just enough to check, he saw her pale, barely conscious, with faint breath fogging the plastic shield over her face, her fingers twitching weakly as if begging the world not to give up on her. And fear had stopped him then, fear of power, of consequences, of disappearing like so many others who crossed the Harlands. But all night her face haunted him, her shallow breathing echoing in his ears, until the news broke that Elena Harland was officially dead, and that was when he knew the truth was being buried along with her, literally. And as he finished speaking, rain soaked everyone. Disbelief clashed with discomfort, and the crowd looked toward the casket as if it had suddenly become dangerous. But the head physician stepped forward confidently, dismissing the story as nonsense, citing scans, tests, and signatures. Yet the garbage collector stood again, his voice rising, and revealed something that made even the doctor stiffen. He described a small birthmark behind Elena's left ear, shaped like a crescent moon, something never mentioned in public, something only someone who had seen her up close could know. And a ripple of unease passed through the mourners, because that mark was real. The doctor's face drained of color, the lawyers exchanged glances, and for the first time, doubt cracked the perfect ceremony. But before the casket could be opened, before truth could surface, black SUVs rolled into the cemetery, engines low and ominous, and men in dark coats stepped out, eyes sharp, movements rehearsed. Not mourners, not security, enforcers, and the garbage collector felt it instantly, the invisible line he'd crossed. And as 2 of the men approached him, the rain seemed to grow heavier. Thunder murmured in the distance, and a woman's scream suddenly cut through the chaos as Elena's younger sister collapsed beside the grave, crying that she'd never believed Elena was dead, that she'd begged for a second autopsy and been silenced. And now the truth stood inches away in a polished box, while power moved quickly to shut it down. And as the enforcers grabbed the garbage collector's arms, he shouted one last thing with everything he had, his voice echoing across the cemetery. "If you bury her today, you're committing murder." And that was the moment the billionaire's perfect funeral shattered, because cameras came out, whispers turned into panic, and someone, no one ever knew who, shouted, "Open the casket," and the world held its breath, because whatever was about to be revealed would either expose a horrifying conspiracy or condemn an innocent man forever. And his hands reached toward the lid and thunder cracked above. One truth became unavoidable. This funeral was never meant to happen. And if Elena Harland was still alive, then someone very powerful wanted her dead. And if this story moved you, if you want to know what happens next, who tried to bury her alive, and what shocking secret the garbage collector would reveal in the next chapter, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Because Chapter 2 will change everything you thought you knew about power, money, and the price of truth.